Welcome, friends, to another episode of the Melted Wax podcast. And I'm your host, DPZ. You can find me at PC with DPZ. Please click follow, subscribe. Also, follow and subscribe to the Sports Card Dad channel if you're finding yourself here for the first time. Today, I wanted to have a solo episode, or I really was struggling actually to find something to talk about. Because sometimes it is difficult to find things to talk about in the hobby. I don't know if you want to keep focusing on all the things that are happening, and there's not a lot of drama anymore. I think things are kind of calming down, and people are settling into their hobby experiences and buying and selling cards, collecting cards, however you want to do it. People are settling into that. And I also feel like I do focus a lot on 90s cards. I don't talk a lot about football. I don't talk a lot about modern or baseball or anything like that. And I really talk and I focus on the stuff that I enjoy and love. And I want to open that up a little bit more because I feel like there's a lot of people that enjoy things obviously outside of the types of cards that I collect and the players that I collect or enjoy. And there's so much more to hear. There's way more to talk about. So in that vein, what I wanted to do is tell a story, a card story. Card stories are fun. What got you back into the hobby, your origin story of collecting. Those are all really fun stories to share and to hear about. And I think, there's nothing different for me to anybody else that's in the comment section. I'm no better than anyone in the comment section. Neither is Dustin. We're just having fun talking about cards. We just happen to take the time to put these videos together and hope that people enjoy them and love to consume them. But ultimately, we all just love to do the same thing. We love to collect cards. We enjoy the cards to increase in value. Obviously, if we buy them at a certain value and they go up, that naturally is a great thing, and who doesn't enjoy that? Unless you're trying to buy the card and you hadn't bought it yet. Outside of that, you enjoy seeing things, become valuable. But at the end of the day, we just truly enjoy cards, no matter the value. And these stories so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my card story, sort of my origin and how I got back into the hobby and what brought me back. But ultimately, when I was younger and when I was collecting, like a lot of us, what was the most important card to me? Cards or card? What's that story? What's that like genesis? That genesis of your collecting journey, or where's that pivotal moment, that exciting moment? Did something happen? Did you open a pack up of cards with your dad? And was that a memorable thing? Was there or your mother or your cousin, or your uncle, or your best friend? What is that experience that was so life-changing for you that allowed you to enjoy the hobby in a very different way and from a young age where it just sticks? What is that story? So when I ask everybody to do, this is going to be a very engaged recording because we're not live. It's hard to do this. So we're going to have two episodes. This first episode, I'm going to tell you my story to help inspire and jog the brain to see if people can remember some of their stories. And I want to get everybody. I don't care how long. It could be 3 or 4 paragraphs. I'm going to read them all. I want to hear your story, your card story. What got you into cards? Is there a memorable experience you had with cards when you were younger, with your parents, your dad, or I think a lot of it is with our fathers or our best friends or our cousins or whoever it is. Those experiences of opening packs, hitting a really big card. Back then, we thought $89 was amazing, right? We didn't know how produced it was. So just for a second, forget about how overproduced a lot of those cards were. If that's when your collecting journey began or when you were young. I think a lot of us fall in that area right now that are getting either back into collecting or have always collected. That's sort of where a lot of folks between 38 and 45 sort of land. But it could be in the 50s. It could be in the 60s, the 70s. It could be in the 90s and in the early 2000s. It doesn't matter. Whenever that time was, whatever that moment was, whatever happened, whatever that card might be, that player, could be that team, could be that whatever sport, a specific sport, an event, could be whatever it is. I want you to share that story in the comment section below. And next week, I'm going to have another show where I'm going to read those stories in the episode. We're going to share them together. We're going to share these stories. I'm going to share mine today. And then next week, we're going to talk about all your stories. We're going to share all those stories because I want more of that stuff out there. Because here's the thing. You can come back to this episode and maybe not this particular episode because it's just me telling my story, but you can check the next episode out, the one we record next week. It could be an evergreen episode where you can always come back and hear your story, maybe hear other people's stories to kind of rekindle that fire, get excited about the collecting again. It's not about the values or flipping or any of that. It's just about that one moment that was so special to you, or moments that were special to you, that meant something to you, far beyond collecting, far beyond the value of the card or the cardboard it was printed on. That experience and why it's special and why it's made you want to collect and why do you still collect. And having that same experience shared with your children, because I think a lot of us are doing the same thing. You know, my kids and I, we love cards. We send them off to get graded, and these cards aren't worth anything, but they're excited about it. Looking through a Beckett magazine with my son and teaching him how this is how we used to do it when I was younger. It's exciting. It's fun seeing them collect and grow in their journeys, just like we did. And that's why we collect. That's why we do it. That's why it's so fun, because it's a departure from every day, and it's something you can do the rest of your life, and you can share with those that you love. So I want to share my story, and then I encourage you all, take your time. I'll try to track this recording maybe next Thursday, so you have some time to get on the comment section and tell your story before I track it. I think next Thursday, which would be forget the date, but you figure out the date, because we're going to have this launched. I'm recording this on the 23rd of February, so this Saturday or tomorrow, the 24th, this show should air. This episode should air. So you got some time. Give me your story. I don't care how long. I don't care what it is. If it's meaningful to you, it's meaningful to me. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to share it. And gosh, it might be a long episode if I get a lot of stories, but that'd be awesome, because that's what we want. I think we need more of that. So I'm going to start. I started my collecting journey probably 1988. You know, I was 8 years old. So I'm 43 right now, 8 years old. And it's right in the heart of the junk wax era. You know, I didn't know that. I went to card shops. There were quite a few of them back then around. They weren't very big. I never bought a hobby box. I know my buddy Dustin loves 89 score. I never got an 89 score. In fact, I heard about it, I knew about it, but I never got those. I usually would buy $89 in the gas station, 89 tops in the gas station or the hardware store. Their cards would be everywhere back then. You know, you just see them everywhere, which probably should have been a sign. But nonetheless, it was exciting because you could get them anywhere you wanted, and they weren't that expensive. Sometimes the gum was exciting, but most of the time it was the cards. And just the opening up of the wax, that residue from like the crumply gum, and that residue that would be on the cards you'd have to wipe off, that smell, all of it takes you back. It's like a memory that it's just awesome. It represents, at least for me, and I think for a lot of us, that time where in our lives where that was it. I mean, we didn't have all these things weighing us down. We didn't have the politics of the world. We didn't have our jobs and all the things that we're responsible for now, all of the accountability that we have to have in our lives, which is important. But back then, you didn't have it. So cards were everything. So I collected then. I was my first experience with cards. It was like 87 tops, 88 Fleer, 88 Donruss, the Greg Jeffries rookie card, trying to get a Mark McGuire. Jose Canseco was my favorite. I couldn't afford an 86 Donruss. Obviously, went in the shops back then, and everything was mint or near mint. There's no grading, so the Beckett told you what was worth what. And perusing through that the other day, it was really funny to see how expensive cards were. I think in an 89 August or October 89 Beckett, the Mickey Mantle was already like $34,000. I think $34,000 in '92, but it was like already $7,000-8,000 for a 52 Mantle, and it didn't say rookie card in there. I just said 52 Mantle for the tops, and then for the 51 Bowman, says rookie card. I had the RC next to it, so it's kind of interesting how they distinguished that back then. But those cards were unattainable. No one's seeing those cards. I never saw one of those as a kid. It was just all the modern stuff. You know, you're collecting all the players like that. My favorite player growing up here in Seattle was Ken Griffey Jr. He was my favorite baseball player. He is what got me back into collecting. I wanted to get that 89 Upper Deck rookie card, so he got me back into collecting. But my other favorite player was David Robinson. And I had a David Robinson coat in 3rd and 4th grade I wore every day. It was a very 90s looking coat. It was a jacket. It wasn't really a coat. It was a jacket. And it was just the coolest. It had all the pastel colors and all. It was the coolest jacket. So I was not shy about my fandom of David Robinson. And to this day, I think David Robinson is really cool. So there's 2 cards from my childhood that I pulled out of a pack. I remember pulling them out, and I put them like straight away, not into screw downs, but in these like this lockdown case, hard cases. And those 2 cards, I still have a lot of my cards, the commons. I've gotten rid of a lot of it just because a lot of it's just, I just recycled it. But there's a handful of cards that mean something to me. I've got 3 that I've graded, 2 of which I'm going to show you right now. But the 2 cards that mattered the most to me, the minute I pulled them out of a pack, I put them into a hard case. Like they did not exist outside of that hard case from the pack at any time from the minute I pulled them out of the pack in 1989 or 1990 to recently in the last like 2 or 3 months. I actually graded both of these cards. It's the 89 Hoops. It's 89 Hoops 310 David Robinson. As you can see, I got a PSA 9 on that, which is actually pretty good. Centering is not too bad, a little bit off, but PSA 9 David Robinson and a 1990 Leaf Ken Griffey Jr. PSA 8. These 2 cards were to me like the gold standard. They were the most precious, valuable cards I owned back then. I put them in hard cases, and they're the only cards that went with me everywhere. As I got out of cards, I still had these. I took them everywhere I went, every place that I moved to. They followed me, and they were the first cards I pulled out when I got back into cards because they were like the most important ones. I never graded them at that point because then I got all into the important cards grading, and then it's the 90s, and I went down all those paths, right? And the modern cards, Bowman Chrome, and I went through the whole ups and the downs, everything, my journey, and everything's gone from all over the place. But at the end of the day, these 2 cards were the beginning, and these 2 cards were what mattered to me. And I remember vividly opening both of those packs, pulling those cards out, the excitement I had, putting them in those hard cases, and now getting them back graded, even though there's tons of 8s and 9s. They're probably $20 cards a piece in the grade that they're in. They might have been a little bit more, in March of 2021, but nonetheless, they were still valuable. They're very important. They're like, I got some really, really cool cards I'm lucky to have. And these are like, pennies on the dollar compared to the values of those cards, but they're still, to me, mean so much more. So that's the kind of story I want to hear. Do you have a card story like that? Like an event for you, an experience for you that was so memorable. Maybe you have some cards like that, just like me, that you kept and you graded. They're in your PC. You'd never sell them. You just would never sell them. Maybe there's some valuable ones. Who knows? Maybe someone had a raw 84 Donruss, Don Mattingly, baseball. That was like the thing. Do you still have those cards? Do they mean something to you? Tell me that story. This is going to be a very short episode because it's going to be the precursor episode for the next week. But this episode is all about the comment section and those stories. And let's engage with one another. Let's tell each other the stories. Let's comment on those stories. Let's have fun. Let's make it about you guys, and which is always about all of us together enjoying the hobby together, all of us. Let's do it in the comment section below with some really cool stories. I want to hear them, and let's share them together. And next week we'll talk about them on the video themselves. And my plan is to read every story off, as long as it's appropriate. But every single story I want to share. So thanks for tuning in today, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. And I'm excited to see this comment section come alive. And again, like I said, subscribe, follow. You follow me at PC with DPZ if you're finding us for the first time on Instagram. And yeah, my cards are pictured there at Instagram. If you want to go see what I have, I've posted all my PC stuff. But yeah, have fun. Let's enjoy it. I'll talk to you all soon. Have a great weekend.